Hi guys, it's me, Danny. Osai is not here right now because she ditched me for the sunlight and the nice weather. She saw 65 degrees and she said goodbye. I'm going to go hang out by this bush outside. The bush has not bloomed yet, but she's still just laying next to it. Anyways, I'm okay with this. I'm okay. It's just gonna be me today. So, yeah, but I am really happy to be making this because it is April and that I was reminded by the grace of God that April is National Poetry Month. And I kind of wanted to talk about it because back in high school at Shy Arts, the Chicago High School for the Arts, my alma mater, I was in a writing program and I specialized for like a couple of semesters in poetry. So technically, like, I don't want to say that I am a poet, but it- I have written some poems in my life, and yeah, it's true. I am a poet, I guess. Um, but I do have like some poets that I like. Obviously, classics, Federico Garcia Lorca from Spain. Who get this? Federico Garcia Lorca was born in 1898, just 100 years before me, obviously. So I think like there's a connection there, and that's why I like him because he was like 100 years before me. Lorca did get, unfortunately, he got assassinated by the Franco regime in 1936 because of his political ideologies and because he was gay. I'm sorry. Fuck fascism. Fuck the Franco regime. They took away an incredible writer, Federico Garcia Lorca. I love him. He was also really hot, but anyway, so that is beyond the point. He was an incredible writer. I also liked Octavio Paz. And Octavio Paz, I just learned that this as I was researching for this piece. Octavio Paz, Mexican Octavio Paz, Mexican poet and also political ideologist, was passed away in 1998. You know what year I was born in? 1998. He passed away in April and I was born in September. So I think like all these things have aligned just so that they on the year that I was born and 100 years prior to that. But Octavio Paz was a Mexican writer and he was also amazing. He was kind of like a philosopher as well. He had great ideas. He was a great writer, of course. And then there's also Benedetti. Mario Benedetti is Uruguayan. He was not born or dead 100 years or on the year that I was born, but he is amazing. He was born in 1920. He passed away in 2009. He's a little more closer to us, and he was incredible, an incredible writer. Porque tú siempre existes donde quiera, pero existes mejor donde yo te quiero. Because you always exist anywhere, but you exist better where I want you. See? That in Spanish is a wordplay that sounds really, really beautiful and just incredible. It doesn't translate the same to English because English, it's a, anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But it is a great, Mario Benedetti is a great poet. And well, before I get into this, I do have a couple of contemporaries that I want to talk about. Yes, there is a couple of contemporary poets that I want to talk about, and I want to read a little more, a couple of poems from them. The first one is Eduardo Corral. Eduardo Corral is still alive right now. He was born in 1973 in Arizona to Mexican immigrant parents, and a lot of years ago, he won a fellowship, and with that fellowship he wrote this poetry collection. It is called Slow Lighting. It is right here. It is very blurry right now. Hang tight. There we go. Slow Lighting. It is a beautiful cover, actually. These are snakes. I don't know if you can tell, but these are snakes, and the whole book is like I don't know. It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful poetry collection. It conveys points of what it is like to be an immigrant. It is a lot about his father, but it's also a very queer book. So it talks a lot about about Eduardo's own sexuality and what it is like growing up in an immigrant community, what it is that duality of being a not being 100% Mexican, but also not being 100% American, and what it is and also like in the time that he grew up, what it is like to be growing up as an immigrant in the 80s, in the 90s, and what his experience was. And also because he's from Arizona. So do with that as you will. But I am going to read you an excerpt from my favorite poem from this collection. It is called A Variation on a Theme by Jose Montoya. And I believe Jose Montoya, that refers to a painting that he wrote this poem off of. And yeah, so this is a variation of a theme by Jose Montoya. I am not going to read the full poem because it is several pages long, but I will read to you my favorite excerpt from it. Okay, so here we go. Hoy enterraron al Monchi, el mero mero de Durango. Mister no contaban con mi astucia. They found his body afuera de Eloy, debajo de un mezquite. Hands tied, a bullet to the cabeza. Dicen que murió por el polvo. Tell los chismosos he pushed a lawnmower in Palo Alto. Tell los chismosos he flipped burgers in Sacramento. Tell los chismosos naco but not narco. And blackness ahead, and when I shall reach that somewhere morning and kept on going and never turned back and kept on going. Agringado, recién llegado, manos de trapo, eyes de color of garrapatas, cell phone strapped like a pistola to his belt. His grito, La revolución no nos hizo iguales. The typos he found in menus. Grilled cheese, trench fries, Saturday night pachangas, Western Union. Patron, drinking piss but dreaming of Patron. Al pie de un verde nopal yo me acosté. El ruido de unas guitarras yo me dormí. Camisa negra, gold necklace, dollar store cologne, la pinche migra at every pinche corner. The batteries for his radio. Los Yonix, los Bookies, a small apartment, 6 roommates, adiós paisanos queridos, ya nos van a deportar. Prepaid phone cards, flea market bicycles, above his cart an alacrán tattoo, pocho words, like pepper on his lengua, ina, pichar. With a market he scrawled Viva Colosio on his apron. Agringado, recién llegado. So yeah, again, this poem I really like because it explores what it is like to be an immigrant, especially like again in the 90s. It really talks about how what people are going to say about him, about whether if he was a narco or not, but he wasn't. Like it really explores this idea that people in Mexico or in the countries where people immigrate from don't really know what it is like to live here. Don't know what it is, that loneliness that people experience here, and how when you move and you have to build a new life from zero, you kind of have to find a common ground of what your life is going to be, because you don't have what you had back home, right? That life is gone, and you can't quite fit just like that into this new society that you're in, right? So you find that common ground of the words that you can say, of the things that you can do, that all the work that you do. um, and so I think this poem tries to talk about that, about finding that common ground, and about how, because the guy Munchie dies, and now people are back home are going to be talking about it, but they don't really know what it is like to be here and what it is like to live this life, live the life of an immigrant. So I really like it. It is a bilingual poem. Um, and again, Eduardo is Chicano. His parents are Mexican, but he is born in Arizona. So it really like you can feel that in the poem. So I really really liked it. And that is that. This is Slow Lighting by Eduardo Corral. Again, it is blurry. Hang tight, maybe. There we go. Slow Lighting. And then the second poem that, or the second contemporary poet that I want to talk about is Ross Gay. And Ross Gay, this book is also from a few years ago. This is called The Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. That's the name of the collection. And Ross Gay is also still alive right now. I don't quite know when he was born, but I know he is from the Midwest. I think he is from Michigan. And this book is incredible. I didn't read all the poems in this poetry because I got lost in just one poem, and that is the title poem of the collection, A Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. It is a 9-page poem. It is just a list of things that, that Ross or the speaker of the poem is thankful for. And it is beautiful written, like the words are like the way the words are placed on this poem is just incredible. And it doesn't have much of like, it does have a few places where it rhymes or where there's a good metric, but like just the pace of the poem is really amazing. And so I do have some parts. It is 9 pages, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing. I'm also just gonna read my two favorite excerpts. So here's the first one. And thank you for not taking my pal when the engine of his mind dragged him to swig fistfuls of Xanax and a bottle or two of booze. And thank you for taking my father a few years after his own father went down. Thank you, Mercy. Mercy, thank you for not smoking meth with your mother. Oh, thank you. Thank you for leaving and for coming back. And thank you for what inside my friends, love bursts like a throng of roadside goldenrod, gleaming into the world, likely howling a shovel with her, like one named Arlie, ocht with hands big as a horse's. That's the first excerpt. And then I will read one more for you. And you, again, you for hanging tight, dear friend. I know I can be long winded sometimes. I want so badly to rub the sponge of gratitude over every last thing, including you, which, yes, awkward, the suits in your ears and armpits, the little sparkling gems slipping into your eye. Soon it will be over, which is precisely what the child in my dream said, holding my hand, pointing at the rolling sea and the sky hurtling out our way like so many buffalo, who said it's much worse than we think, and sooner, to whom I said, no, duh, child in my dreams. What do you think this singing and shuddering is? What this screaming and reaching and dancing and crying is? Over than loving, whatever second goes away. Goodbye, I mean to say, and thank you every day. Beautiful, just beautiful. Just the pacing and the words of Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. I really, really enjoy. And yeah, those are my contemporaries that I really like. This is A Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude by Ross Gay. There we go. The book actually has a picture of Ross Gay. He's right here. Let's see. Yeah, that's him. Awesome. Um, but yeah, that is that. And now to end this poetry talk, I have to say that to celebrate Poetry April, the month of poetry, poets, write one poem per day, every day of the month. Now, back when I had to do this challenge, when it was obligatory for me to do this challenge, I found my ways to get around it. I would like Friday would show up and I would write like 3 poems so that I wouldn't have to worry about it during the weekend. I'm sorry, Miss Boyer Brown. I cheated sometimes, but it was better than not writing anything. And I did end up with 31 poems by the end of the month. But I think the nice thing about poetry is that people think that, you have to be like, you have to use alliteration and simile, and you have to have rhythm, and you have to rhyme, and you have to use the A B C or C D C, the rhyming schemes, and it has to be like perfect, and it has to be, all, it has to be special, it has to have all of these things. But I don't think it is like that. I think with poetry, as long as it comes from the heart and it is natural and it is what you are feeling, and if you do end up using some metaphors and some similes and you have like some good pace to it, that makes it even amazing. But at the end of the day, it just has to be what is from your heart, so it's already April 7th, so I haven't written a poem every day of the month, but I did write a poem for this piece. Now, because it's been a really long time since I last wrote a poem, I thought that the easiest way to do this, and so that it would be good, I wrote my own version of a catalog of unabashed gratitude, my favorite poem of the whole series here. This takes inspiration from Ross Gay's poem, and it is my version of a catalog of unabashed gratitude. So let me read what I have. And it is obviously not quite Ross Gay's poem, but it was my best attempt, So here it goes. This is Danny's own catalog of unabashed gratitude. And also, what a mouthful. I really like the title. I really like the poem. So here's my version. And thank you to the voice in my head for the colossal job of keeping me at ease. Madness is in the corral, almost free. One day I will listen. Until then, thank you to the impulse, such a liberating fuel. The gratification, the fear, and the adrenaline. And thank you for keeping me alive. Thank you for the anecdotes. Mami, te prometo que algún día voy a cambiar. Thank you for your patience. I was falsely assuring my mom I'll change someday. Maybe one day. Thank you to the key on the door. Thank you to the keypad on the door. I don't remember what I did with my last set of keys. Thank you to the mug that holds my coffee. Doesn't seem important, but not everyone is lucky to hold one. I am sorry. I am sorry. I am sorry. And thank you to the woman on the side of Central Park and Fullerton for her golden retriever. Fluffy is my cat kind of animal, a smile, the grace of God, a soft purring, the feeling of thank you, Osa. And if you don't mind, my friends, I like to turn my attention to my family para decir gracias, gracias por el cariño y el esfuerzo y la lealtad. La suerte es sinónimo de nuestro vínculo. Y gracias por no abandonarme y no olvidarme, y aunque a veces yo me olvido. And that, my friends, is a small portion of my gratitude. Thank you now. I love you. Thank you. And yeah, that is my poem. And I am happy that it is National Poetry Month. And I will try to write another poem before the month ends. So maybe I will share that later in the month. I love you.